Welcome to Frame's episode on the contemporary miniaturists. We have with us an eminent set of people as far as the miniaturist movement is concerned. Let me start by introducing Mehreen Zubairi. She is a practicing artist and a teacher at the Karachi University, one of the first few members of their miniaturist faculty. Am I right, Mehreen?
Absolutely.
Then we have Hamad Nasser. He is a writer, a critic, a curator, and what I informally call him as the sort of Lorenzo de Medici of the contemporary miniaturists. He's done a huge amount of work on promoting this school, if one can call it that, on taking it to an international viewership and perhaps writing on it. And then we have Hasnat Mahmood. Thank you so much for joining us from Lahore for this show. Hasnat certainly ranks among the most senior miniaturists working today. At the start of the movement, he was one of the new kids, new faces, and now is a practicing artist, has a lot of international viewers and has had a lot of shows both at home and abroad. Hamad, my first question is that tell us something about the history of the contemporary miniatures. Where does this start?
Miniatures have been taught at the NCA for 6 decades. So this is not a flash in the pan. The big change came when, under Zahoor al-Akhlaq, when he was the head of fine arts.
Zahoor is the presiding spirit over this whole movement.
Yeah, he's very much the spiritual godfather, I think, of this thing. So Zahoor in his work, although it's a very different scale, it's a different medium, largely on oil, oil on canvas or on board, but he was really going about deconstructing the miniature, looking at the framework, looking at the narratives, looking at the way stories are told, while in the miniature department, there were a whole bunch of new students who were in the process of constructing and learning through copying the techniques and the rigors of the miniature. And I think Shazia certainly was one of the pioneers in using that language of the miniature and crossing over into territory where Zahoor was working.
And she's the one who broke the ice on this whole movement.
I think she was the first one. She's still the Miss Pakistan in USA, I suppose.
And yet for some people, Shazia's work really doesn't, yes, Shazia's reputation precedes her work and somehow departs without delivering on the work.
She was a pioneer, I think, really in initiating a conversation that she had seen Zahoor Sahib engaged with. And then Imran, both as an artist himself and then as a teacher, the de facto head of the experimental strain in the miniature department, has really taken that further.
I also sense a sort of self-reflexiveness in this movement, the habit to step back, to see what they've done, and to also sort of forge a theoretical basis of where they are going. I feel that academically, this is a very informed movement in Pakistani art.
The Karkhana is really the brainchild of Imran Qureshi, who was teaching at the time, has taught both these guys and lots of others. And his idea was really, again, as you pointed out, this sort of reflexivity and this thoughtfulness about the traditions of miniature and the contemporary moment. So he was very intrigued by the Mughal workshop and how work was arranged.
The sort of cooperative practice.
Cooperative
and art making.
Authoritative. So it's like, you will do the trees and you will do, the neem rang, and you will do the reds because you're the best red person. So that was the Mughal workshop. And Imran wanted to reinvent that idea for modern times. Imran had this idea of collaborating with 5 others. He was himself going to be part of this. And they agreed a format whereby all of them started 2 paintings and then couriered them to each other. So there you set up this little daisy chain where Hasnat would start 2 paintings, forward them to Aisha.
Who would work on the same 2 paintings. Right.
Then she would then pass it on to somewhere else.
And hence the name Karkhana. The sort of Mughal sort of idea.
So very much playing on that theme, but sort of taking it forward.
I was at that point really proud to be getting Imran Qureshi's Vasli and working on it. I was afraid of it at first, looking at the pieces, and I was like, oh, now I have to work on my teachers. I have to be really careful. I have to be really thoughtful. I have to think really well and then should start something. Because he made us look at things differently than I suppose Bashir Ahmed would have done. If I compare Bashir Ahmed and Imran Qureshi, they have the same, I suppose, weightage in terms of Bashir Ahmed as a teacher of traditional craftsmanship, and Imran Qureshi at the same time he is of I suppose the openness towards the tradition.
But you know, somewhere along the line, I mean, in all the conversation, or you know, sort of the contemporary miniaturist grapevine, one has, you know, sort of misses the name of Bashir Ahmed, and I think his, you know, sort of import is not to be overshadowed. And somehow I've found a lot of young artists, you know, when they talk of this whole thing, you know, it's Imran, it's Shazia, you know.
It is at some level, if you see contemporary miniature, Bashir Ahmed would be like a person who is a villain in that whole scenario in a film.
And
of
yet he
miniature
set
painting.
that craftsmanship aspect.
Yeah,
You know, sort of,
that's
I mean,
true.
he's that bedrock
Yeah, that's
that
true.
is there.
If you are coming into an institution, you are going to learn something. You are not going to like starting deconstructing it. You have to first learn it and then you can do anything about it.
In keeping with the self-reflexiveness of this whole movement, you will find that contemporary miniaturists themselves are among that rare breed of artists who can really talk about their work. Hasnat, you know, in speaking of all that, I mean, is certainly far more articulate than a lot of earlier artists have been on their work. In fact, I've talked to a lot of artists, Zahoor included, you know, who said that, you know, if I could speak, why would I be painting, you know, and drawing images?
Yeah,
You know, it's almost oxymoronic, that relationship.